In road racing or group riding, maximum effort sprinting happens several times during the event or race, and especially at the end. And if you're the type of rider that wants to work on their sprinting, whether it's physical, emotional, or strategy, then I have one of the fastest sprinters in the country who is willing to share his secrets here, coming up. What's going on, guys? Greg Romero here, and I got one of my favorite sprint cyclists, Charon Smith. Charon Smith is from the Los Angeles area. We used to be teammates back in the day when I started racing crits again. And Charon, welcome, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Right on. Charon and I just got done doing a group ride. So, well, not a group ride. We've been riding with the guys from LEL. Which is one of your sponsors for your team methods to winning. And so we're going to talk about sprinting. And so Charon is known as one of the ferocious, most feared field sprinters, finishing sprinters here in Southern California, and I would say throughout the nation. So Charon, you know, I wanted to give our viewers some insights to your mindset as it pertains to sprinting. What is your mindset when it comes to sprinting?
A lot of it is positioning.
Yeah.
You know, I'm first in thinking, okay, save as much energy as possible. Staying calm, breathing, relax, not wasting energy.
Yeah.
Those are some of the keys for me, at least, leading up to those final 500, 700 meters, if you want to say.
Yeah. So positioning is key. Obviously, if you look at like professionals like Sagan, he seems to be a guy that's always, he doesn't really seem to rely on a team, does he? He seems to surf more, so he has to really strategically work on his positioning. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, Charon, because I would say at the end of the day, the number one thing you have to think about, whether you're a recreational cyclist in a group ride, a Cat 4 cyclist, or a master cyclist such as yourself, or a pro, the number one thing you have to be thinking about is strategy and positioning, making sure you're in the right position. Because if you're not in the right position, you know, like Rassam Bahati gave you shit one time. He says, dude, why are you coming out of the last turn in 10th place? It's not like you're just going to hit a button and surpass everybody. So despite the fact that you're a guy that can hold 1,500 watts continuously for 5 seconds or more, which is fucking impressive, you know, that means nothing if you have to if you're coming back 10 bike lengths from behind. It's going to be a lot harder for you. You know, you're really, really strong. I mean, I've seen your numbers are incredible. Do you find yourself training your sprint from time to time? How do you work on your sprint?
Some of it is natural ability from the man above, but hell, natural ability or not, you have to do the work. They say if you don't work your talent or your gift, it's just going to be wasted, right?
Amen.
So I do some work in the hills. I do a lot of training under stress, under climbs.
Nice.
I'm known for doing big green climbs, Palos Verdes. I do a lot of work there.
What does that work consist of specifically?
Man, you want me to give away all my secrets, but you know, it's funny, most of the people are not going to do it. There's a small percentage that's going to go and actually do the work.
Well, yeah.
So not necessarily like a super big gear where I can't get over the top of it.
Yeah.
It's about getting on top of the gear. I like to use an example like when you're in the gym lifting weights, getting your reps in.
Yeah.
So the same thing in the hill. You know, I want to be at a number I can control and be on top of.
Yeah.
And using my glutes a lot.
Nice.
My hamstrings.
Yeah.
A lot of core.
Yeah.
Because our hamstring and glutes are our biggest muscle, so you get a lot of power from there. So you have to make sure you train that muscle, so when it's time to use it under stress, it responds and reacts. So that's where a lot of my power and strength come from, is doing the work. Do the work that you suck at, because we all have some natural abilities that we're good at.
Sure.
So I try to train my weakness. My weakness is climbing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the climbing is what improves my sprint. I'm able to generate much more power because I've trained the muscle. I have a bigger muscle. I have a lot of fast twitch, but if it's not trained, it's useless.
Well, I like that you talked about training under duress, imposing that demand of being under stress and under duress. And, you know, we talked number one, strategy and positioning. Number two, you're going to need an engine to be in contention for the field sprint or any sprint. It doesn't matter if it's because you've won sprints in breaks before. So I think it's important that you work on your fitness specifically to be there at the end. So it's one thing to be strategic, it's one thing to be fast, but you have to work on your fitness. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
And I also want to say that if you do it in training, because at the end of the race, sometimes it comes down to who can suffer the longest, right?
Yeah.
So if you have practiced that in training,
yes,
mentally you can revert back to when you was hurting in the hills by yourself or with your training partner, right?
Yes, yes.
In the race, like, hell, I've done this in training.
Yeah. So
suck it up.
Yeah, so exactly. So you're not only are you training the physical component, but you're training the emotional and the mental, which we speak about a lot as teammates. But to be fit is one thing. When you're in the red and you're fighting elbows and positioning, there's a part of you that could easily just say, you know what, screw this, is too hard. I don't have the engine. There's always that monkey mind in the background that's saying, you know what, maybe you can't do this. You're not enough to do this. And what you're saying is that you're training yourself to fight that talk and prove to yourself that you can do it. So you're imposing the demand.
Correct, most definitely.
Nice.
I've won, a lot of races that way. I've been in the box a ton of times. And then it comes, wait, hold up. Some of it is also like, I tell myself, what makes him better than me? He put his pants on like me.
Right.
You gonna let him outwork you? So it's a constant mind game. You know, that's the beauty of racing and competition. It's like, okay, who's going to tap out first? I'm like, well, hell, I put in work and training just like him.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not tapping out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to win them all, right? Nobody's undefeated. But if you don't shoot the shot, you don't know if it's going to go in.
So imposing the demand, making sure that you're prepared for when that situation arises, and practicing that repetitively to where it's automatic, to where when you're in winning time, when it's one or two laps to go, you're ready to go. So let's talk about the mindset a little bit. I remember back in the day when I first met you, you had this term that you would say, you know, come winning time. I remember that stuck. I was like, man, that's something I so much wanted to just be able to say and make up and be able to hold that and own that. But it's yours, man. I love that. Tell me more about winning time, the mindset.
Well, I love positive affirmations, right?
Yeah.
Speaking to myself, encouraging myself. Some of it may say, man, why is Charon, who does he think he is? He walks around like he's confident or he's this guy. I'm like, hell, if you don't believe in yourself, what makes you think the next guy or girl is going to believe in you?
That's right.
So if I could train my mindset to focus on my end goal, which is winning, when you pin a number on and you line up at that line, hell, I'm not lining up just to look good. I'm lining up to cross that line first. Nobody really remembers that person who won the preem, who won that $50 lap, but they will remember who won that race, you know? I want to be known as somebody who could deliver.
Even better, let me add to that, they always remember who wins the last lap.
Yes. I'm not going to mention names, but I've had teammates, I'll roll up to them in a race. I'll be like, dude, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just testing the engine. I said, dude, save that for the end of the race when we need it. Because otherwise you pay the price for it later. We're only humans. We have so many matches to burn. Nobody have a match book that's limitless, right? So to me, it's all about conserving. How much could I save? How much could I save? Because you're going to need it at that crucial moment.
Right. Love it. So far we've covered positioning strategy. We've covered training under duress, and we've covered the mindset and working on your confidence. Last one before we take off here, you know, tell me more about power and watts. What are we putting out these days? And is it something that you monitor, and is it a big number or a big deal to you? Or do you use it as a way for you to remind yourself that, hey, you know what, I do have the big power here, I do have the big engine. If I just put myself in position, I'm not worried about that, I got it covered.
Yes. Well, I'm not a big numbers guy. I look at my numbers at the end of the day. But when I'm racing, I'm not thinking like, oh shoot, numbers.
Sure.
It's something like, if you know you have it, I wouldn't stress on it so much. I'm a guy, if I know I did put in the work in the gym, the results are going to come from that, right? I look at my numbers, I know it's like a get out of jail free card. I know I have more power than 80-90% of the guys in the field.
Absolutely.
So I have used power at times in races where I'm looking at them like, Hell, we're doing 400 watts.
Sure.
Okay, I know most humans cannot hold 400 watts unless they're world tour level, right? But we're not racing at that level.
But tell me more about maximum power. Like we tend to think about max power, but I tend to focus on the 5-second power because that's more telling.
Yeah.
Have you focused on max power or 5-second or 10-second power when it comes to your sprint training?
Not so much. I think just because my results have spoken, like, I'm faster than majority of the guys.
But if I were to ask you, hey, Charon, what's your best max power you ever seen? What is that?
1800.
Damn, that's pretty good. And that's at 170 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then have you looked at anything from like 5 to 10 second? Like what's that power? Have you been, like, what have you been able to hold for 5 seconds?
Interesting. On our ride today,
yeah,
we hit the kicker on the roller and we took the pace up. And so when we got back from our ride, I looked at my 5-second power and it was 1275 for 5 seconds. So I was like, man, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, I think it's all relative too. Like, because I would say at the end of the day, it's funny because I think the general deletion when it comes to power, people want to focus on max power, but it's like, great, when did that happen? Because I know when I look at my group ride files, or, you know, because I'm a big group rider these days, my max power is not happening towards the end.
Yeah.
I've noticed. And so in fact, I would say most of my power at the end, you know, the last sprint is probably around, you know, I'll hit a max of maybe 1200 as a spike and maybe hold on to 1200 as a 5-second. It's funny because you really don't need.
Yes.
You don't. It's hard to repeat your max power every time. So.
Yes. But what's interesting, I have a friend named Hilton Clark. He's won a ton of big races, right?
Yes. Yes.
Australian guy, lived here in the States for a little bit.
He rode for UHC, correct?
UHC, a ton of pro teams, but at the peak of his game, he was like winning all the big crits across of America.
Yeah.
And so I would train with him periodically in Santa Monica, and he would be like, Charon, I don't care what numbers you're putting out. I won big crits, and I only put out like 700-800 watts.
At the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
He said, because the pace is so fast.
Yeah, it's so fast.
That I didn't need to put out that much watts.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, I did a big sprint in a group ride the other day, the Wednesday Camp Pendleton ride, and we started the sprint at 39 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I didn't need to put out more than 1100, 1200 watts for any given time of that sprint.
Yes, yes.
So it's true, because sometimes that's why it's so telling that you do work on your fitness for while you're entering the last lap, making sure you're fit. That seems to be more important than the max power.
Exactly. That's where the race is won.
You have to be fit to be there at the end, and then you have to be able to mentally, you know, race with your head to be in the right position to deliver. Because sometimes, it's crazy because sometimes you might not be able to deliver that maximum power.
Yes.
Plus, when you're rolling at speed, listen, I would say max power, you would need more torque. It needs to be slower. I know when I'm going slower, I can put out a higher max power because the torque demand's higher. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad that you shared that about Hilton. That, you know, he only needs to put out 700-800 watts for 10-15 seconds to win.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's about the speed. Like sometimes the speed is so high.
Yeah.
That most people aren't going to come around the speed, right? Just imagine if the speed is low, and guys who aren't naturally fast or sprinters, they're in a position they shouldn't be in, and it causes all this chaos.
Yep.
So sometimes you wonder, like, why are they going so fast? It's to keep the guys who shouldn't be there in the way, because it can become dangerous. You're doing 38, 39, 40 miles an hour, and you got some guys who aren't used to being in those positions, in that position, and they're like, they freak out. All it takes is one little freak out and can wipe out the field. So some of it, that's where we can go back to positioning. Like, find your spot, get your guys where you need them to be, and keep that pace at a pace where it's safe for everybody. We're not necessarily just going fast just to go fast because we're fast. It keeps things safe. We all want to go home how we came. And typically the best man is going to win more times than not. Even if you look at the results throughout the year, it's the same guys placing in their placing. So
I agree. Well, there you have it, guys. Mr. 200 meters to go, Charon Smith, thank you so much. Guys, if you found value in this video, make sure that you like the video, comment, but more importantly, subscribe and hit the bell notification. That way you guys get notified when I go live or when I post. Charon Smith, thank you so much for joining.
I appreciate you guys. Hey, watch the video. It's nuggets in here, and it's free. You're not even paying no money. You'll be a fool not to listen to this. The next one's going to cost. Thanks, Greg.
All right, man. All right, guys, we're out.